Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to show you every single Lepanthes species that I own. I'm going to show you the ones that have done really well for me, and I'm also going to show you the ones that haven't done as well. This is going to be a deep dive into my entire collection of Lepanthes, so I hope you stick around and enjoy this video. So before we get started, I wanted to address a question I had that came up in my previous video. This question was about when do I decide to use live sphagnum or dry sphagnum to mount my plants? And my answer for that will be that I've only recently started using live moss. And I think I don't want to really make too many claims about it, but live moss for me is easier to see when it's drying because the moss will go a kind of palish shade, indicating that it needs water. And so I found that a little bit more useful than the dried sphagnum, which is a little bit ambiguous on when it's wet or dry. However, I don't know how long the live moss will stay fresh, and it will need occasional pruning, so that's a little bit of extra work. But when I have more conclusive results from using it, I will be sure to update everyone about that. And I just want to say, I think I will compile questions and do sort of a weekly or even a monthly Q&A answer series in the future going forward. So now let's get started with the plant tour. Alright, this guy's been sitting around waiting to show off his beautiful foliage to you. This is Lepanthes planadensis. I received this plant in November of 2024 from Tarzan Group. One thing I will note is I have not bloomed this plant yet, but this plant has been growing like crazy for me. And so you can see all these leaves with the dark purple tinge. Those are the leaves that have grown in since November. So this thing has absolutely exploded in growth. It really likes the conditions that it's getting here. But anyways, I haven't bloomed this yet, but if you look at this leaf here, I believe it's this one, the base of the leaf, let me zoom in there, there is the workings of an inflorescence developing, so probably we'll see some flowers soon. Lepanthes planadensis has these tiny little dark magenta-ish colored flowers, so I think that will go very nicely with the bottom leaves here. But anyways, Lepanthes planadensis, really great little species, and appears to be pretty vigorous too. So I've decided that I'm going to go species by species rather than individually plants across, because there's going to be a ton of duplicates, and I think I can talk about same species at the same time. So this is Lepanthes regularis. You can see this guy here is in bloom actually. And so it's a really nice smallish to medium-sized Lepanthes. It has successively flowered inflorescences with like yellowish to pinkish flowers. Can't really tell by the camera, but the flower's base color is actually yellow. So these have been growing really well for me. This guy here on the right, maybe not as well. The original plant, back when I had my fridge, I think I overwatered it, and then it, so basically the mother plant died, but it made it cakey. I threw that cakey into my orchidarium for rehab, and I've since removed it and put it back onto a fresh mount. You can see this is pretty new compared to this one. And I mean, it started to make a new leaf right here. So, yeah, hopefully it's recovering for me, and hopefully it'll be as prolific as this other one very soon. Yeah, so this is Lepanthes regularis, a nice little small medium-ish sized Lepanthes with some really cute blooms, and it regularly blooms as well, so it's a nice one to have around. Alright, next up we have Lepanthes myiophora. not often am I, what's the word, comfortable admitting that I'm proud of something. But this is a plant that I'm really proud of. Oh, I almost dropped it. Just because of how vigorously it's growing for me and how full it's become. When I first got this plant, it was tiny, just like a couple leaves, and here it is 3 years later, on the same mount with the same moss, just like growing crazy. You can see here, it's got this cute little triangular flower, kind of like peachish orange colored. But yeah, this is a plant that I really like, and it's really small too. That's like another really great thing about it. So to me it looks even more impressive because it's so small, but it has so many growths on it. Another really good thing about this plant is that it produces multiple inflorescences per leaf. And so you get this effect of just like so many flowers, and it's really awesome. One of my favorite plants in my collection right now. So this is Lepanthes myiophora. I mean, you can see how thick these leaves look. Yeah. Anyways, on to the next one. Okay, this one will be fast. This one is Lepanthes pulchella. And I literally got this plant like 2 weeks ago, so can't really say too much about it. I will say, if you look here under my finger, there is a new inflorescence emerging, and there's another one right there I'm pointing to with my right thumb. So it's settling in nicely. If you've seen other people who keep Lepanthes pulchella, the flower is absolutely awesome. It's like this yellow with like bright pink petals. And this is a pretty big mount it came on. However, it's attached to this, so I just kept it here. And this is one of the scenarios where I've used live moss, and you can see I've barely used any moss. But that is enough to keep it hydrated. And the moss is nice and green here, indicating that it doesn't need water. Anyways, Lepanthes pulchella. Okay, next I got another pair here. Again, I can't really say too much about these because I just got them in my previous echogeneral order, but this is Lepanthes dalessandroi. One thing I will note is, you see this moss is a little bit paler than that moss, so it will keep getting paler and paler, indicating that it needs water. And then when you water it, it will green up really nicely. So these have been settling pretty nicely. You can see I still have leaves on them. One thing that might happen when you freshly import things is it'll look fine, and then you pot them up for a week and then they lose all their leaves. That didn't happen, thankfully, with these. No signs of new growth yet, but I like how the leaves have plumped up and they've greened up as well. They were a little bit yellow, pale green when I first received them. But anyways, Lepanthes dalessandroi. Okay, another one that's like pretty new to me. This one is Lepanthes pelvis. And yeah, like dalessandroi, and pulchella, this is from that same echogeneral order. One thing I'll note though, again, like the leaves are getting more green, and I believe this inflorescence was still alive when I got the plant, and it's now starting to make a bud. So I'll probably see a flower soon. Again, I used live moss for this because I had it lying around, and you can see here, it's not just sphagnum. Actually, it's like a mix of mosses, and so there's this weird little moss here. I don't really know what it is, but it's nice to see the variety of mosses. Anyways, so this is Lepanthes pelvis. Hopefully, when it blooms, I can share it for you in a future video. Okay, here I am with some poor timing on my Lepanthes telipogonifloras. As you can see, this one just closed here, and then this one is just starting to open. But I have one that's like almost open, so I can show this to you. Very awesome orange flower with yellowish margins, and very intricate. Let me see if I can focus on this. Very intricate petals in the middle. My hand is too shaky. But anyways, these guys are growing well for me. I have a ton of them. We have a capsule on this one, and a capsule on this one as well. You see here. Yeah, and so Lepanthes telipogoniflora, I'm sure if you keep Lepanthes, does not need an introduction. It's one of the best flower size to plant size ratio Lepanthes out there, and it's just really easy to grow, tolerant of a wide range of temperatures. Mine are doing pretty well. Some of them are maybe not looking so great foliage wise, but you can see the roots here. Like, these are attached solid to the cork. Same with this one here. Look at those roots there. So I think these guys should clump up pretty fast once they settle in a little bit more. Okay, here's another one that I really like. Again, haven't had it too long. Lepanthes Uxoria. These have these really attractive round leaves, and the bottoms are nice and purple. Yeah, I only got this recently, so I can't say too much. I do have a new inflorescence peeking out there in the bottom of this leaf, and so hopefully we'll see some flowers soon. But yeah, Lepanthes Uxoria, really, really cool species. Should try and get one if you don't have one yet. Alright, let's talk about this one. This is another one I'm pretty proud of. This is Lepanthes Acarina. You can see that this is like one of the smallest Lepanthes flowers that I own, or plants that I own. It has the tiniest flowers. They're kind of like a pale yellow with bright pink petals. This plant self-pollinates itself like every month. Basically, there's a new capsule developing on this thing, and so I've had little baby Lepanthes Acarinas popping up everywhere. Really small plant, which is one thing I really like. And the bottom of the leaves are also really pretty. You can see this like purple shade. So mine has only recently started taking off, and so I think in about a year or two, it might be as dense as that Lepanthes myiophora I showed earlier. You can see all the new leaves here. Yeah. So this is Lepanthes Acarina. Really small flower, but it's like so adorable. Here's one that's sort of been on and off for me. This is Lepanthes aculeata. It started to make, you see these like larger leaves, and so maybe that means it's a little more mature, even though these shorter leaves are still blooming. And it has this really colorful, bright red little flower. So really attractive plant. Yeah, again, this one had a slow start, I think, for me, but it's starting to kind of take off a little bit now. And so really looking forward to it when it's like maybe double or triple the size. So one thing you'll notice if you start growing these things is if you can find the sweet spot for them, they just explode in growth. And you should keep doing what you're doing and leave it there. So this thing has started to explode. You can see it's making, there's another growth point right there. I don't know if you can see right there. So it's making 3 leaves right now. It's starting to explode in size. All of these leaves are producing little inflorescences. So I'm going to leave it exactly where it is right now. Moved it a couple months ago, and it started growing like crazy. So yeah, Lepanthes aculeata. This one is Lepanthes polytricha, and I said I was going to share things that haven't really grown well for me. And so this is one of them. You can see the roots are really crazy and really big growing in the back, but it just hasn't put on many new leaves. I bought this as a seedling plant with the description, will bloom in 1 year, from Tarzan. Clearly, because I have not been keeping this optimally, it's not blooming this year. However, I just moved it again, and like I said with the aculeata, so you move it somewhere that it likes, you should leave it there. And so this plant has made 2 bigger leaves where I just moved it, and so I think it maybe likes the spot a little more than where it was before. It's getting a little less direct airflow. and it's also in a little bit of a shadier spot than it was before. And so it's making 2 new leaves here that are really nice. Hopefully the next ones are just as nice, and that I can keep this going and actually see a bloom soon. At least it's not dead. That's a plus. But this is Lepanthes polytricha. Alrighty, this here is Lepanthes grandiflora. It's bloomed maybe once or twice for me since I got it in November from Tarzan. It has, however, put out a bunch of new leaves. You can kind of tell which ones are new. They're kind of lighter green, and it's also putting out a bunch of new leaves here as well. So honestly, I'm not too upset that it's not blooming for me right now. It feels like it's one of those in its explosion phases, explosive growth, I should say. And so I'm gonna leave it exactly where I've put it now, where it is producing all these leaves, and hopefully in a few months or so, maybe all of those new leaves will produce inflorescences, and then I'll have like a ton of flowers. But this is a really really nice leaf to look at, honestly. I like they're kind of succulent, and so it's kind of fun to touch them too, because they're kind of thick and smooth. But anyways, yeah, Lepanthes grandiflora. Okay, here's another plant I have that is kind of just exploded in growth for me. It might be in a spot that's a little bit too bright right now, which is why the leaves look a little bit yellow. However, I think it'll be fine. But this is Lepanthes tentaculata. And it's got these really nice reticulated leaves, and each leaf will have this like cute little red flower. You can see one right here. I actually have a video that I made about this plant maybe like 2 years ago, and it was like a lot smaller than this, and so yeah, this has grown like crazy since then. It's on the same tree fern mount as it was when I first got it 3 years ago with 1 leaf. So this stuff lasts. Anyways, Lepanthes tentaculata is one of those really easy to keep ones, and so and it also has really nice leaves. So if you're looking to keep Lepanthes, I'd recommend keeping one of these. I will say though, importing these is a little riskier because it's very thin leaved, and so it tends to not ship really well if you're getting it from an overseas overseas retailer. And so if you can find one from someone more local, or like even in the same country, probably better than importing it, because the chances of it being dead on import are a lot higher than something that is a little more succulent leaved. But anyways, look at these leaves, they're so pretty. This Lepanthes tentaculata. Okay, another new import here, again on Live Moss. This is Lepanthes hexapus. And so I think a trend that I'm seeing, actually, now that I'm making this video, in these new imports is that they're greening up a lot since I got them, and so really happy with that. You see how nicely reticulated these leaves are as well. There's an inflorescence somewhere in this mess, so I will show you that flower when it does emerge. But yeah, Lepanthes hexapus, really pretty leaves. Alright, next up is this plant. This is Lepanthes terpsichore. And this plant holds a special place in my heart because it is the first award I ever received from the American Orchid Society. And so this plant received a certificate of horticultural merit for its very interesting flower and beautiful purple leaves. You might be asking, what purple leaves? But then you just turn it around and look at those. Look at those leaves. So beautiful. Anyways, it's since been like 2 years since I got that award, and this plant is going crazy. It's a cakey machine. You see here, there's a lot of crap growing back towards the plant. Those are roots from plants that are growing, like new plants that are growing from the leaves of this plant. And so, I mean, they flower like crazy. I think this is the best blooming it's put on right now. in terms of most flowers open at once. Let me see if I can zoom into a flower here. It's got a really, really unique flower, and I really like this plant. It's a little slower growing than some of the other Lepanthes I have, but nonetheless, it's a really great one to have around. It's Lepanthes terpsichore. Alright, here we have another monster in the making. This is Lepanthes gargoyla. And for a while it was growing these like shorter leaves here that are nice and green, not pubescent. And then I moved it to somewhere with a little bit more light than it was originally getting, and it made these really long leaves and started taking off like crazy. You can see here. And each leaf again has at least one flower. Very, very robust growing plant. Let me zoom in on one of these flowers. Look at that thing. Very cute. Anyways, this is Lepanthes gargoyla. There is a xanthic form, which I have yet to get my hands on, but it's basically a yellow greenish flower, so no anthocyanins, no red pigments to it, and the leaves are also don't have those red pigments. But anyways, this one is a really, really great plant to grow. You'll note the tag says Lepanthes pubescens, and that's because it was what's the word, mis-ID'd when I purchased it. So this is not Lepanthes pubescens. This is in fact gargoyla. Yeah, really, really beautiful leaves. I've got a pair of these. This is Lepanthes leporina, and you can see here the flower, the ears, look, the bunny ears on the petals, those pink petals. Really, really great little plant. See, I got a capsule on these two here. But anyways, this is another one of those really great flower size to plant size ratio Lepanthes. It's really, really small of a plant, and the flowers are huge. I will say, I don't know if I'm having the greatest success with it. It might look like, whoa, like, oh, so many flowers. But this thing has not made a leaf in a really long time. It's a little bit concerning to me, which is why I'm trying to propagate it. But, I mean, the leaves are green, and it continues to produce flowers. So I won't, tell it to stop or anything. But this is a really, really great one. Kind of hard to come by. I think they're a little expensive too, but hopefully I can alleviate that problem when this little seed capsule here matures. But yeah, this is Lepanthes leporina, one of my favorites. I'm spilling tree fern little bits all over my piece of cloth here. I gotta clean that up before I take it outside. This is Lepanthes ribes. It's one of those weird Lepanthes that has the like globular flowers. Fortunately, I don't have this one open and bloom right now, but you can kind of see where this bud is going. The other thing is, they kind of bloom facing towards the plant. That's what I've noticed, and so it's been kind of annoying to photograph these things. But this thing is a seedling that I got a flask of these from Ecogenera. Do I have a date? I don't even have a tag on this one. Probably like a year ago, last January probably. But anyways, they've been growing out pretty well. And yeah, I got some nice inflorescences, nice flowers. I gotta trim this. Lepanthes ribes. Alright, this here is Lepanthes cloesii. And you can see it makes this humongous inflorescence. You can see here, not in flower at the moment, but it makes these really dark maroon colored flowers. Grows a little bit slow, but other than that, it's a really great plant to have. It does take up a little bit more space because of these inflorescences as well. So just like plan for the inflorescence to make the plant double its size if you're wanting to keep this thing. Yeah, and this has got those really nice succulent leaves too. So another one that's really, really great to keep. This Lepanthes cloesii. Can't these keep getting tangled. Look how long this inflorescence is. I mean, yeah, just keep that in mind if you're gonna keep the species. It might outgrow, if you're keeping it in a really small space, it might outgrow it. Okay, we're like almost at the halfway point. Thank you for still being here if you're still watching. But this is Lepanthes curiosa, and it's got these nice pink roots. This is another new one that I got in my last Ecogeneral order, and so hopefully I can keep this thing alive. But again, these leaves are a little bit succulent, so I think it survived the shipping pretty well. Lepanthes curiosa. Okay, another fresh import. This is Lepanthes teretipetala, or teretipetala. And so this is again in live moss. You can see here, right here where my thumb is, it's getting a little bit white, right? And so this would mean that I'll probably need to water this thing tonight. When I touch it, it doesn't wet my finger. I can tell it's a little bit moist still, but see, this is what I mean by live moss being an indicator of when to water. But anyways, yeah, this one I think there's a couple new inflorescences, and so it should be in bloom soon. But I'd really like to see some new leaves. Lepanthes teretipetala, however you want to say that. Okay, so I mentioned I was going to show things that weren't doing too well. And so here we are. This is Lepanthes fimbriata. The leaves are supposed to be like this big. They were once that big. Then I overwatered it, and so now I'm stuck with this tiny little thing that's like slowly recovering. It is recovering though, so I'll give it that. You can see here there's like a new leaf right here that's like a little bit bigger than maybe a previous one. And so yeah, don't overwater your Lepanthes. You'll get stuck with something like super small, and that will stay small for quite a long time. But this is Lepanthes fimbriata, and I think we're gonna enter the realm of a couple of not so great ones in a row. Okay, I double checked, it's just two. This is Lepanthes mulleriana. And this is a really tiny one as well. And I'm pretty sure this was just a bad shipping. So, like it struggled quite a bit in shipping. But see, there's a new leaf there. There's a big fat red root there. And so, it's recovering. And I believe it will be, blooming probably in like a year or so. But yeah, this one again, not the best example of a well-grown plant. This is Lepanthes mulleriana. Okay, I have here another plant from Tarzane. This one I bought again in that November order. This you can tell is a new leaf, and there's like a really nice inflorescence. This is Lepanthes doucetii, and contrary to the appearance that these yellow leaves are giving, this plant is actually doing really well. So there's a lot of new leaves. These darker green leaves are new, and unfortunately the flower just fell. But this is another one of those ones with like the crazy colorful and really intricately shaped flowers. Check out my Instagram, I have a picture of it there. Shameless plug. But anyways, this is another one of those really great ones to grow because it's so small, and it stays really small, as you can see. So, this is Lepanthes doucetii. Okay, I got another one that's not doing too great. This one is Lepanthes chelonion. I mean, there's an inflorescence here, but I'm worried that that's gonna be the last flower that this plant makes. Yeah, not really sure what to do with this one. It's just always been sulking. Leaves have never really formed too well, and the roots just aren't enjoying what is happening with this mount. See all this like kind of mossy algae stuff. So I think I'm gonna, maybe in a month, if this still isn't recovering, I'm gonna try one more thing with this. But otherwise, I think I'll just have to watch it slowly die, which is too bad because this is a really cool one with the bright red flower. This is Lepanthes chelonion. Okay, another like really great, really small one. Too bad this flower just closed up again. But this is Lepanthes minetii, recently described species, and yeah, really small, really great flowers. I'm growing this on a tiny little cork thing. But yeah, man, I miss this little red flower. Really good grower. If you can get your hands on this species, definitely would. It's got those like spider-like looking petals, so it's really cool to look at those flowers. And I got inflorescence here. I got another little one poking up over here. And so yeah, good little growing plant, and it's in live moss for me. Alright, here I think this one's pretty popular. It's Lepanthes escobariana, and this has been through a lot with me as well. The plant's not in the greatest shape, however I think it's recovering finally. And you can see it's making these it makes these big yellow flowers. This one's not open right now, but I think it just closed actually. But yeah, I think that might be why it's popular, because it has a flower you can see. But finally, it's growing well for me. So, Lepanthes escobariana. And I'm sure for all you Lepanthes growers out there, this species needs absolutely no introduction. This is Lepanthes calodictyon. I'd say probably the most popular Lepanthes species that is grown, because it is so tolerant of so many conditions. And I mean, look at that leaf. These leaves are insane. It's like a tentaculata, but better, I guess you can say. I mean, that the markings are so intense. This was another plant I got in November, and it's growing a bunch of leaves. Like all these little longer ones here are new leaves since it's been here, so steadily chugging along. And I mean, this thing again flowers all the time on these little red little flowers here. Let me see if I can zoom in. They look like little mosquitoes or little flies. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't heard of Lepanthes calodictyon, now you've heard of Lepanthes calodictyon. And if you keep Lepanthes, you should get yourself one of these. They're just so easy and so rewarding. Plug my Instagram one more time. It's the same username as my YouTube. But if you saw on there, I posted this flower here. Lepanthes dodsonii. I don't know what it is with this plant. I don't know if it's a species or if it's the this specific individual. But man, this thing sulked for probably 3 years. And it made inflorescences and made buds, and then they blasted. And it made inflorescences and made buds, and then they blasted. And then leaves would die before new leaves came. But finally, after 3 years, I finally have this like awesome flower. Totally worth the wait, I think. And I mean, hopefully this won't be the only one. There's more inflorescences growing here on these newer leaves, so hopefully at least one of those will open a new flower. But yeah, this is one of those that has really nice leaves as well. You can see, here's a really good example of that. Really nice reticulation on there. But yeah, Lepanthes dodsonii. Mentioned earlier, the Lepanthes pubescens I had wasn't actually Lepanthes pubescens, it was gargoyla, and this is actually Lepanthes pubescens. But like a similar thing happened, you know. It had these tiny leaves. I actually bought it when it had these tiny leaves off of eBay. And then when I got it and put it under some higher light, then supposedly where it was from, it made these really long leaves that are really nice, and they're very, as you might guess, pubescent, which means they're like covered in tiny short hairs. But yeah, this has really beautiful leaves, and I think the backs of the leaves are very nice as well. Yeah, I see, it's like terpsichore with this like vibrant purple color on the back. Too bad you gotta turn it around to see it, but I mean, it's really nice. And the flower, here you go. These things flower like crazy. All the time. Very similar flower to terpsichore. This is Lepanthes pubescens. And really similar again in growth form to those gargoyla and pubescens. This is tomentosa. And so what is different about this? See, this is the flower. You see it pretty much looks almost exactly the same as Lepanthes pubescens. Well, I was doing some reading, and apparently the difference is that the leaves are like roughly pubescent. You see? It looks almost like textured plastic. Like those textured folding tables almost. Versus Lepanthes pubescens, which is like tiny little hairs that are like nice and soft. But anyways, again, you can see I got this at the same time from the same person. Pubescens. And so you see these newer leaves when it's growing under a little bit higher light. Really, really nice and long. And yeah, again, flowering all the time. Although the flowers don't last too long, and they open like pretty frequently. So nice one to have, Lepanthes tomentosa. Here's another newish one I got, Lepanthes peruviana. Looks a bit like cloesii in the leaf form. But this one is supposed to have a really nice, like almost whitish flower. Moss, live and dead mixed. Gonna be honest, don't know why I did that. I think maybe I was running out of live moss, but I did it, and I guess we'll see how this plant does under these conditions. You can see these really nice purplish roots here. But yeah, this is Lepanthes peruviana. I'm sure this will bloom soon because these leaves are of blooming size. So yeah. Okay, we're reaching the final stretch. This is Lepanthes estrellensis. And this was also a new import, and again live moss, as you can see. And you can see it's like going pale again. This one is still a little bit wet when you touch it though, and so it doesn't need water immediately. Will note though, this one is the first one to show some new growth. So yeah, really looking forward to this one. Lepanthes estrellensis. Okay, this one is Lepanthes clarii, or at least that's what it was sold as. I think there's seems to be a running consensus that all of these are actually some kind of either a new species or a hybrid. But yeah, I like the flowers of this. Nice orange things. If I find out eventually that this is a hybrid, I probably will sell it or give it away, just because I'm a species snob. But this thing grows really well. It grows very vigorously, and it kikis a lot, if I remember correctly. And so I have like many duplicates of this in my orchidarium. This is Lepanthes clarii, or some random hybrid. Alright, this is Lepanthes pictilis, and like my fimbriata my sad fimbriata I showed earlier, this was also a victim of overwatering. It did recover a lot faster though, and you can see here it's got a nice little flower on its newest leaf here. Let me zoom into that for you. Did I just break the leaf? I hope I did not. Look at this, really cool markings on this flower. It's like yellow with these like magenta vertical lines running through it, but yeah, it's not looking too great. Although this latest leaf is pretty big, so hopefully the following growths will also be that big. It's Lepanthes pictilis. This one's a good one. This is Lepanthes valesiana. Although I think I might have been giving it too much light. That's why there's so many pale white leaves. I've since moved it. Some are shadier. But this one blooms on the underside. Doesn't look like there's too many things in bloom right now, but here's a flower. It's really quite delicate looking. The petals remind me of like butterfly wings, and the center is like this deep magenta color, so really pretty little thing. And it gets like pretty big. I don't know. See this leaf here? When I first bought it, I guess like this was probably the largest leaf, but now it's like getting bigger and bigger. So I've had to allocate more and more space to this thing. But yeah, this is Lepanthes valesiana. I believe it's a Puerto Rican endemic species. Very cool leaves. These are also kind of succulent, so they're kind of fun to touch as well. They're kind of smooth. There it goes. This is Lepanthes niacenii, or niacenii. It's got these really nice red leaves. It has gigantic orange flowers, but of course it fell yesterday before I made this video, so it's not here today. This one also was like pretty rough when I first got it, but it actually only had 2 leaves when I first got it, and this was one of those leaves. These ones are all new. You can see they're a lot bigger, so the plant's pretty happy, I think, right now. And here is the latest leaf. I want to try to not to damage that, so I won't touch it. But this is a really steady grower. It seems pretty slow, but I feel like they're all like that. Maybe I can find a spot for it to explode sometime in the future, or maybe it can mature and then explode. But anyways, yeah, Lepanthes niacenii, or niacenii, however you want to say it. Okay, we're in the final stretch. I think there's probably less than 10 species left to go. This is Lepanthes declivis, and I ID'd this one myself. Actually, it was a volunteer plant on a platystellae that I had. Please be in flower. Oh. Okay, well, I thought this was in flower this morning, so too bad, I guess. But this is another one of those flowers on the back of the leaf thing. And you can see this has 3 inflorescences on 1 leaf. Pretty prolific bloomer. I am still waiting for it to make another leaf though, and I'd really prefer it make more leaves before it makes more flowers. But anyways, that's too bad that it's not a flower. This is Lepanthes declivis. Really like it. Dang it. Maybe a future video. So just as I was about to bring this plant over and show you how terrible it's doing, it lost its last leaf. So I'm not gonna throw it out yet because it still has really good looking roots, which is like really weird. You can see here it's growing roots, that pinkish part back there. Now, this is Lepanthes golondrina. Has like a big orange triangular shaped flower, but I mean, I might keep it around and see if maybe it makes a new leaf. I'm not sure if it was just a bad time to order plants because it was pretty cold when I ordered this, even though I got a couple heat packs, or if maybe like my conditions just aren't right for this plant. But wow, that was like very sad when this last leaf fell. That's too bad. Lepanthes golondrina. Here's another recent import, Lepanthes caprimulgus. It's another one of those, the ones with, like globular flowers, so we're looking forward to that. This one's cakying like crazy. I have 2 of them, but the other pot's kind of like difficult to reach, so I'm just going to show you guys this one. But I'm still waiting for roots, so, yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. Okay, these were easier to reach. This is Lepanthes dactylopetala. Again, another recent import. I really like these leaves. I didn't really notice this when I ordered this plant, but they have very nicely patterned leaves as well. Maybe that'll be better. Yeah. And I think they're settling well. Again, I'm still waiting for signs of new growth and roots, but come on, focus. There's an inflorescence in this leaf, on this leaf right there. But my camera wants to show you this one here. Maybe there'll be one on here. This nice purple leaf here. You can see the striations on this one aren't too great. But yeah, new import, waiting for new growth. Very nice leaves. I almost forgot about this one because it's so big. Don't usually associate Lepanthes with big plants. This is Lepanthes minetii. You can see how big it is. It's like humongous. But it's always in flower, which is really great. It has not made a new leaf yet since I've got it, but it's been making tons of little new growth points for its roots. So you can see there. I think it's fine that it's doing that. But yeah, this is a really interesting one. Can't say I would order more of this kind of Lepanthes just because they take up so much space. But it's nice to have at least one to kind of see what they are like these larger leafed ones. But yeah, very nice. Lepanthes minetii. Okay, final stretch. I don't know if you can tell, my throat is getting a little dry. This is Lepanthes acarina, and this has a really nice red and yellow flower as well. But this is a new import, so still nothing really in bloom. The leaves, again, like I've said for some other imports, greened up. This inflorescence is still alive, so hopefully we can get a flower on that soon. But other than that, just waiting to see new growth, as I am with my other imports. So yeah, Lepanthes acarina. Okay, this is Lepanthes silisepala. I don't even know if that's an accepted species, but this is what it was sold as. As you can see, this plant is not looking great, and this was a terrible import I had last summer. What the plant has been doing though is making a ton of keikis, and so I do have probably like 8 little tiny plant things that I've started propagating out. Here you can finally see it's making like a real full-size leaf, but I think it's still going to be quite a while before you see flowers from this guy. So, Lepanthes silisepala. That's always the gamble when you import these sensitive plants, right? Never know if it's going to arrive in great condition or just like complete crap. This was also in that same crap import. This is Lepanthes discolor. It's recovering. You can see how small these leaves are, and then it's making little keikis. But I mean, it lost like almost all of its leaves when I got it in the mail. So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully we can see it bloom within the next year or so, I guess. Okay, if you stuck around until now, you've made it to the final plant. Thank you so much for watching. No matter how much of that you watched, I know most people probably aren't gonna watch the whole thing. It's kind of long, but anyways, here's the last one I want to show off. This is Lepanthes ortigae, and it was a flask I got a year ago. Let me show you these pretty flowers. This is the largest one that I had potted, and it's like pretty big. It's like considerably bigger than almost all of the siblings from that same flask. So was able to separate this one out really early. But one thing I want to note is, see this flower, and I'm gonna pull another flower side by side for you to compare, if I can. Whoa. Okay, look at this one. This is a sibling plant, but I mean, look at the size of that thing. The flower is ginormous. Probably some weird like ploidy stuff going on with these plants, because like this one seems to be very not what's the word? Very sterile. Can't be pollinated. But just like look at that flower, it's humongous. I just thought I'd end on something weird like that. Again, thank you so much for watching. No matter how much of this video you watched. And just a reminder, if you want to leave questions in the comments for me, if I get enough of them, I think I'll answer them in like a QA style video. If I don't get too many questions, I'll just respond in the comments. But anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you have you're having a great weekend. And I'll see you in the next video.